Hi, friends. So today I was looking at Jeremiah 17, verses 9 to 10, and it talks about the heart, right? The heart is one of the most important organs that we have. You know, you can be without an arm and still survive. You can be without legs and still survive. You can even be blind and still survive. You can even, lose one kidney and still survive. The point is, the most important organ is the heart, right? So if we look at Jeremiah 17, verses 9 to 10, it says, the heart is deceitful above all things. Who can trust it? Wow. The heart is deceitful. Wow. It's saying your heart is deceitful. Because when you live in the flesh and you go based off your heart and how you feel, instead of going by the fruit of the Spirit, instead of following what the scripture says, instead of, repenting and asking God to give you a new heart, when you live in the flesh, it says your heart is deceitful. And who can trust it? Wow. I seen that today in the car. I was like, what? It was like in my mind, I was like, your heart is deceitful above all things. Who can trust it? Your heart is deceitful. So amazing. And then if we look at Ezekiel 36:26, it says, I will take away that stony heart and give you a new one. So if you come to God and you ask him to give you a new heart, and you walk by faith and not sight, and you ask him to give you a new heart, he will give you a new heart. You hear stories all the time about people that have transformed, right? You hear stories like that all the time. And the scripture talks about that too. It says, renew your mind and be transformed. It talks about that all the time. So this is 100% true. Like, you can be transformed. You hear stories about people who are different from when they were 5 years ago, 6 years ago. They just became a totally different person. It's because they got a new heart. Oh, wow. That's such a blessing. Let's read that again. Ezekiel 36, verses 26. I will take away that stony heart and give you a new one. So we have to live in the spirit and not in the flesh. How do we live in the spirit? We live in the spirit because we're following the scripture. When you're following the scripture, you know how to treat others. You know about forgiveness. You know about love. You know about being Christ-like, because you are living by the spirit, because you know the scripture and you're putting it into practice, right? But if you're living with the flesh, you're doing what you want to do. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. You're not this. You have to live by the spirit and not the flesh. Wow. And then if we look at Jeremiah, if we look at Jeremiah 17, verses 5, it says, cursed is a man that trusteth in man, and whose heart departs from the Lord. So when you're departing from the Lord because you're trusting yourself, you're trusting your flesh, you're trusting another human being instead of trusting God, and you're departing from him, you're running away from him because you're trusting yourself so much. Because you think you can take care of it, right? When you're trusting other humans and you're not trusting the Lord, that is the person that's considered cursed. You're considered cursed. Jeremiah 17:5. Cursed be the man that trusts in man, whose heart depart from the Lord. And man does not mean gender, it's the spirit, right? If I'm trusting myself to get through things or whatever the situation is, or I'm trusting another human being, and I'm departing from the Lord, that's taking away from God, right? Oh, that's scary. And it just talks about how important the heart is. How important the heart is. Even if we look at Proverbs 23:7, it says, a man is as he thinks in his heart. Right? And in order to have a new heart, you have to ask God to, I always ask God to open my eyes, open my heart, come into my heart, forgive me for my sins, and help me become the person that He wants me to be. Not the person I want to be, no, the person that He wants me to be to fulfill the purpose that He has for me. To give me patience, to give me peace, help me be kind, help me be loving, help me be understanding, help me exhibit the fruit of the Spirit, right? And remember, sometimes being on this world and this earth, it's hard to be like that because you get triggered, you go in situations, things happen. Like, it's easy to just be able to steer away from that. But you also, if you read the scripture, it says offenses will come. So if you read the scripture and you learn it and you practice it, like for me, that's what reminds me every time. Offenses will come. Offenses will come. So I'm prepared for it. So if I know offenses is going to come, and that's what Jesus said, then why am I going to get offended? Everybody's going to get offended at some point. I don't take it personally because it's not about me, right? I didn't do anything. So that is like eye-opening. I love that verse. The heart is deceitful above all things, right? Another good example is, say you have a friendship or a relationship and your heart is telling you, oh, I love this person, I want to be with them, they're great, blah, 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 but then they're mistreating you. Your heart is deceitful. Your heart is telling you like you want to love the person, but they're not good for you. It's very deceitful. I don't go based off my heart and how I feel. I go based off facts and the fruit of the spirits, and it matches the scripture. Not every time. I'm human. I make mistakes. But that majority of the time, I look at the fruit of the spirit. I'll say, like, yeah, I'm feeling like this, but what are the facts? What are the repeated behavior or whatever the issue might be, right? So it's important to make sure we look at our heart. Wow, that's amazing. And it's so amazing, too, because it shows that God is the one that gives us life. You know, you can make it with a lot of organs in your body being missing. You can make it, but you can't make it without your heart. And God is the one that gives us our heart. Isn't that amazing? That's so amazing. Wow. And then Jeremiah 17:5, cursed is a man that trusteth in man. If you trust in man, you're considered cursed. And whose heart is departed from the Lord. That is who's considered cursed. When you're steering away from God, you're expecting to take care of things yourself. I got this, right? Or you're expecting another human being to take care of it, and you're not giving it to God. It also says cast your care onto Him. So we're supposed to always give things to Him. See, when you read the scripture, it teaches you the way of life. It is so amazing. I'm telling you, like everything. It talks about everything in life. Like if you have any worries, cast your care onto Him. You know, it talks about taming the tongue. It talks about forgiveness. It talks about your neighbors. It talks about being Christ-like. It talks about everything that you need. It's so amazing, guys. It's so amazing. Oh my gosh. All right, bye, friends.